Plastics Prize and Global Opportunity Youth Network, which is an initiative that is actually committed in creating opportunities and solutions for the young people to be able to thrive in. As a result of that, as I said, part of the challenges has been it has been to unpack what are the opportunities in the green sector, in the waste management sector, from collection to recycling, to manufacturing, to the market that is there, to really understand what are these opportunities that our young people, our entrepreneurs would be able to tap into, innovate, come up with solutions, and also be able to not only create jobs for themselves, but also create jobs for the ecosystem, and overall create an economic impact to the county at large. This is one of the ways that it shows that to be able to tackle a community problem, it needs a number of stakeholders to be able to come together and create the solution. Just with the Mombasa Plastics Prize or the Green Job Summit, or even with the Global Opportunity Youth Network, it's a very clear indicator that we cannot be able to tackle any community-related problem alone. And that's why in this forum that we have here today, we have a number of partners from different diverse sectors that are coming together to be able to have conversations and think of solutions that we can have around the green job sector. Thank you very much, and welcome once again to the Green Job Summit.
There's a difference between the word initially and now. So mtu asinitafute mahali, mimi sina kitu. Sasa, initially, right now, tuko Naruto pamoja. So, we want to break for breakfast, but before we do that, Rukia has mentioned some awesome people here, the partners, who have made this possible, and also who have enabled, as my great sister there said, the word enabler. Enable these innovators to do what they have to do best in order for them to provide solutions to the environment. So I'll kindly request the following to come up here in the next 1 minute, and then I'll give them 40 seconds to say something, because the event is powered by a lot of people. So first, I'll love to welcome Stanley Gishovi from GDI. Atawaambia GDI ni nini, tafadhali tumpigie makofi. As he comes, I'll also love to welcome Fatma, our dear Fatma, from National Museums of Kenya, our hosts, because this space where Swahili Pot sits is under NMK. So if Madam Fatma is around, we really value you. We appreciate you kindly. Welcome. Then I also like to welcome this amazing lady that I've known. She's always good, from Proportion Global, Miss Sarah Mpapulu. Kindly, Sarah, clap for her. And then from the county government of Kenya, I'd love to welcome Rogers. If he is around, Rogers, kindly make your way. And then I'd also like to invite somebody from Close the Gap. That is John. John, kindly clap for him. And then Swahili Pot is also a partner, Sindio? So I'd love to invite one person from Swahili Pot. Just Swahili Pot, we are volunteers. So I'd love to invite Arafat Mo. Arafat Mo, kindly come. Just talk about a little bit about your engagement with whatever we are having today. And we call it a day, then we break for breakfast. Sasa, najua udiokula. Sasa, chukua.
Habari zenu tena. Mko salama? I think I know most people, but kwa wenye wanijui naitwa Gichobi, aka Mr. Sherehe, aka mkiniona kuna sherehe, hata ukiniona town tu hapo kizunguka kuna sherehe. Exactly. I'm from Global Development Incubator, but I'm a lifetime member of the Swahili Pot Hub and supporting the Global Opportunity Youth Network. So I'll say quickly 3 things to just summarize what GDI does. At GDI, we are looking to create sustainable, systemic and sustainable solutions at scale. Kizungu mingi. In short, tunaangalia create impact na si ya watu tu wachache, kwa watu wengi kabisa, na hii impact isikakuwe short term. Ni impact inakuja na inakuwa very long term, ile inabadilisha our communities well. So tunaangalia tutabadilisha nini ama tutasupport pamoja na community. What are we going to change so that we can have a long-term impact that creates opportunities for many people at a very big scale. So in very short, that is what GDI seeks to support. And Swahili Port Hub and the young people here are our close partners that we love, we adore, and we are very excited to continue this journey even as we continue building up the green jobs within Mombasa, to look at the opportunities, to look at the systemic shifts we need to make, to look at innovative ideas on how we can leverage it, first and foremost to create opportunities for the many young people here in Mombasa. Along the day, we'll share more, but for now, I'll stop there and say I'm really, really happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. As my good friend Odipo introduced me, I'm Sarah Mpapulu. I am representing Proportion Global today, and I'll try and be as simple as my colleague here. So Proportion Global is a global design firm or global community, as I like to call it, that has a network of designers across Africa and Europe as well. We pretty much, designers, I know you're wondering what are designers. We don't make furniture. So we are a global network of designers who we deal with problem solving. So pretty much we do a lot of work in design thinking, a bit of work in social behavior change, but basically just supporting with design facilitation, research support. And I must say, as Proportion Global, we are honored to have been part of this journey of Mombasa Plastic Prize. It's been inspiring and it's been very challenging for us, just being part of phase 1, and now we're getting towards the end of phase 2, working towards great partners like Swahili Port, Close the Gap. It's been such an honor, I must say, to be here to talk about this project and Proportion Global as a whole. So kwa hayo machache, nimeshukuru na tutaongea zaidi wakati wa chai. Thank you.
Good morning. Okay, I'm John Nyaga from Close the Gap. So in Close the Gap is a hub that we have different products, like we have refurbished computers. You can walk to our shop anytime and get your computer. We have different programs. We have Impact Accelerator. Here is where we fund like young entrepreneurs with ideas around environment so far. That's why as per up to now, we are supporting Mombasa Plastic Prize in implementing the ideas to business. So again, we are honored to be part of Green Job Summit as Close the Gap. We also welcome you to Close the Gap. You can work anytime, and we support youth. Thank you.
Hey, Sasa. My name is Mo. Just call me Mo. And yeah, I do work at Swahili Port. And a lot has been said about Swahili Port, about the Green Jobs Summit, about the More Green Jobs campaign by my colleagues whom we work with at Swahili Port. So I'm not going to get to repeat that. But really to thank you for coming here. It's such a great pleasure, right? It's a Tuesday. It's a lot of stuff going on, right? But so thanks a lot for taking time to join us, and wishing you an amazing experience, right? So all conversations that we're going to have today really will make a key contribution to actually something that Gishobi mentioned, right? Creating opportunities, especially now for our case, youth at scale. So thanks a lot, and wish you an amazing day. Asante sana.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and a lady. I'm an and a lady. a lady and gentlemen. Asanteni sana na karibuni sana, msichoke sana. Ule wakati wangu, ile promise yangu, I gave you guys a promise, ndio? Ile promise yangu ndo imefika. Oya chochokozi, nini? WhatsApp, unataka vita? Anataka vita. Uwe pati chai, au pati chai. So, you have to invite people for tea, and you are not going to take that tea.
Sasa, I'm going to invite all of you for tea. Tea is served here. Watch me. Tafadhalini, tusichukue muda mrefu. Tea is served here. And once you come here, you'll meet this amazing
Nataka kumute. Sasa atungoma.
To be honest, I just wanna be with you and I know vex. I just wanna be with you and I know best. I just wanna be with you, yeah. You elevate, and when we dip together we marinate. And everything you say I resonate. And when I day inside you, you do it. I really on fire, too easy. I'm feeling you, I'm loving you. You make it too easy. I'm touching you, and I'm loving you. You make it too easy. You make it too easy. You make it too easy. Oh, baby.
We started testing several models on how we can increase opportunities for the young people in Mombasa in specialty things. And that is where the idea of Mombasa Tourism Innovation Lab was born. We were trying to look at, now that we are receiving X number of tourists, how can we be able to receive more tourists? How can we be able to enhance the Mombasa tourism product? And in return, get more tourists to come to Mombasa, get more visitors, increase their stay. And by doing that, more tourism dollars will be injected into the economy and jobs for both young and old in Mombasa County. And we have been trying to look at how we can rejuvenate this tourism product by scouting for innovations in the whole of Mombasa County. You'll be surprised by how Mombasa is rich with innovations and so many things to do in Mombasa that can enhance the tourism product. We have, for instance, people in Cedar Creek doing a wonderful mangrove conservation and an ecotourism project. We have people in Nyali doing wonderful, who have established a cultural center, and that is something that would increase would enhance the experience of the traveler. And we have been scouting this innovation in all counties and in some counties in Mombasa, and there are so many such innovations that we hope will be scaled up. In our simple way, we have managed to reach out to about 20 of these innovators that we are currently training on product development, how to register in travel marketplaces, how to tap into the international markets, and both international and domestic markets. And this is what we have managed to do.
So what I've learned from the training is that since our product is new in the market, we've been able to learn how to develop our product to meet the customer's need, and also how to outcompete in the competitive market, and also how to develop a business plan that will guide us in ensuring we meet the customer's need in the long run.
I'm very grateful for this training. I'm very happy to have this chance to come and network with other people, because Alhamdulillah, what I can say is I have partnered with 2 other individuals that I never ever sikuwahi jua kama nitakutana nao. So at least now I have products, materials zenye najua nitapata at any given moment. So I'm very sure by the end of this product, my business is going to grow from where I am right now to somewhere else, because already niko najua wapi naweza pata hizo materials at hand.
We are hoping that we are going to attract support from all quarters, whether it's the county government, Ministry of Tourism, the state departments of tourism in the national government, who are mandated to develop this tourism product, so that we can scale them up. We started testing several models on how we can increase. We started testing several models on how we can increase opportunities for the young people in Mombasa in specialty things. And that is where the idea of Mombasa Tourism Innovation Lab was born. We were trying to look at, now that we are receiving X number of tourists, how can we be able to receive more tourists? How can we be able to enhance the Mombasa tourism product? And in return, get more tourists to come to Mombasa, get more visitors, increase their stay. And by doing that, more tourism dollars will be injected into the economy and jobs for both young and old in Mombasa County. And we have been trying to look at how we can rejuvenate this tourism product by scouting for innovations in the whole of Mombasa County. You'll be surprised by how Mombasa is rich with innovations and so many things to do in Mombasa that can enhance the tourism product. We have, for instance, people in Cedar Creek doing a wonderful mangrove conservation and an ecotourism project. We have people in near in Nyali are doing wonderful, who have established a cultural center, and that is something that would increase or rather would enhance the experience of the traveler. And we have been scouting this innovation or in all counties and in some counties in Mombasa, and there are so many such innovations that we hope will be scaled up. In our simple way, we have managed to reach out to about 20 of these innovators that we are currently training on product development, how to register in travel marketplaces, how to tap into the international markets, and both international and domestic markets. And this is what we have managed to do.
So what I've learned from the training is that since our product is new in the market, we've been able to learn how to develop our product to meet the customer's need, and also how to outcompete in the competitive market, and also how to develop a business plan that will guide us in ensuring we meet the customer's need in the long run.
I'm very grateful for this training. I'm very happy to have this chance to come and network with other people because, alhamdulillah, what I can say is I have partnered with 2 other individuals that I never ever sikuwahi jua kama nitakutana nao. So at least now I have products, materials zenye najua nitapata at any given moment. So I'm very sure by the end of this product, my business is going to grow from where I am right now to somewhere else, because already niko najua wapi naweza pata hizo materials at hand.
We are hoping that we are going to attract support from all quarters, whether it's the county government, Ministry of Tourism, the state departments of tourism in the national government, who are mandated to develop this tourism product, so that we can scale them up. we started testing several models on how we can increase opportunities for the young people in Mombasa in its things. And that is where the idea of Mombasa Tourism Innovation Lab was born. We were trying to look at, now that we are receiving X number of tourists, how can we be able to receive more tourists? How can we be able to enhance the Mombasa tourism product? And in return, get more tourists come to Mombasa, get more visitors, increase their stay. And by doing that, more tourism dollars will be injected into the economy and jobs created for both young and old in Mombasa County. And we have been trying to look at how we can rejuvenate this tourism product by scouting for innovations in the whole of Mombasa County. You'll be surprised by how Mombasa is rich with innovations and so many things to do in Mombasa that can enhance the tourism product. We have, for instance, people in Kinder Creek doing a wonderful mangrove conservation and an ecotourism project. We have people in near in Nyali are doing wonderful, who have established a cultural center, and that is something that would increase or rather would enhance the experience of the traveler. And we have been scouting this innovation or in all counties and in some counties in Mombasa, and there are so many we started testing several models on how we can increase opportunities for the young people in Mombasa in specialty things. And that is where the idea of Mombasa Tourism Innovation Lab was born. We were trying to look at, now that we are receiving X number of tourists, how can we be able to receive more tourists? How can we be able to enhance the Mombasa tourism product? And in return, get more tourists to come to Mombasa, get more visitors, increase their stay. And by doing that, more tourism dollars will be injected into the economy and jobs created for both young and old in Mombasa County. And we have been trying to look at how we can rejuvenate this tourism product by scouting for innovations in the whole of Mombasa County. You'll be surprised by how Mombasa is rich with innovations and so many things to do in Mombasa that can enhance the tourism product. We have, for instance, people in Kinder Creek doing a wonderful mangrove conservation and an ecotourism project. We have people in near in Nyali doing wonderful, who have established a cultural center, and that is something that would increase or rather would enhance the experience of the traveler. And we have been scouting this innovation or in all counties and in some counties in Mombasa, and there are so many such innovations that we hope will be scaled up. In our simple way, we have managed to reach out to about 20 of these innovators that we are currently training on product development, how to register in travel marketplaces, how to tap into the international markets, and both international and domestic markets. And this is what we have managed to do.
Sauti mzuri. Sindio? Good. Okay, hello. I want to see if ile chai nimewapea kama imetosha, hakuna lunch. Kwa wale wamefika kuchelewa. The beautiful Mercy. Usijali. Chai utakunywa next time. Sasa, we want to continue the sessions. And as I said, we have a lot planned for you today. We want to cover the Green Jobs Summit in a wider range. So from artists to youths, to non-youths, to stakeholders, to poor people, to rich people, to people who pay taxes, and to those people who don't pay taxes. Today, we only have one discussion. Hey. And that was intentional, ndio nisikie venye mtareact. I wanted to see if you are concentrating. Okay, we only have one hashtag today. That is #more. #more. Watu wa chai hapo, naona tufunge. Naona the way people are not concentrating here. You're making this session go away. #more. Pato, saidie basha yangu hapo ndani. Tutaka kuona mwenye anasema vizuri. Saidie ile basha. Angalia tu hapo ndani, ambia uzo akupe. Saidie basha. #more. No, #more. My audience. #more. Sawa, wako wengi, acha nijaribu huku, nyinyi mnyamaze. Today we only have one hashtag, which is #more. Hata menta asemi. #more. Watu wa huku, nisabia watu wa huku tujue tunapeana ngapi. Wacha nione huku. Hapa kuna nimeona wasanii. Nimeona Alice. Alice is always a very good rapper. So don't worry. #more. No. You guys are not passionate. Imagine on leo ni Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, imagine that's how the Green Job Summit has absorbed me. Mpaka sijui kama leo ni Monday or Tuesday. That's how I'm passionate about it. So I want you to be as passionate as I am. #more. Say it like you mean it. #more. Now let us say it, all of us. #more. We are live. We are live. So imagine mtu ako nyumbani ana shout kutuliko. So nataka let us wake them up. Tuambie sisi ndio tuko venue. #more. No, #more. #more. Gishobi, sitakupea chai na ukose kusema. #more. Asante sana. So, I think my stage is well set. There is a very electrifying performance about today, courtesy of the Creatives Department at Swahili Pot Hub. They've created an awesome performance in poetry in regards to today. So whatever you're about to see is going to charge us into the next session where we're going to have two presentations. Presentations that I want to promise you. Unajua mnasikia tunasema bahasha. These presentations will ask questions. Those who have been facilitated to be here, and those who came here because they wanted to be here, and those who are here because they have a passion for green jobs and the environment. If you have a passion for green jobs, you have a passion for the environment and climate change. Sawa. So these two presentations are going to be the most amazing presentations I've seen in quite a while. Mimi nishaziona. Walikuwa wanafanya practice presentation in front of me before they came here. So once the beautiful Daisy is here and the amazing Alice are here to present, I want to tell you the presentation is awesome because I was there during the rehearsals for the presentations. So I would love for you guys to listen in and get to understand vividly well whatever they're going to talk about. I think Gishobi put it in one line, in one sentence of what they're coming to talk about. So right now, right about now, Biashara is ready, and Purity Karanja, are you ready? I want you to give these people a performance like no other. Let them know what we are made for, and let them know that artist, ukisikianga kioo cha jamii, kwa kweli sisi ni kioo cha jamii. Nasema sisi, me included. So I want you guys to show these people kuwa artists ndio kioo cha jamii. As much as the stakeholders and they love green jobs, we as artists can propel the conversation to other mediums. So I want us to keep silence and listen very, very keenly. Na macho yenu yanifuate mimi, kijana mtanashati, Just Odipo. Mkiniangalia, mtajua tunaanza vipi.
My name is Purity, and Purity is my name, and so is Pish, because Pish is my stage name. I said, my name is Purity, and Purity is my name, and so is Pish, because Pish is my stage name. Justice for environment is justice for all. Practice conservation to avoid destruction. For the future is in the making of our present daily deeds. Now, allow me to reflect to you a future of our persistent ignorance to the cries of climate crisis. A future where pitch decks and TED Talks will be something like this. Earth is a rotten corpse, dead, and you know it. We could worry our little heads, try to ignore it, act frantic, irked by the drastic manner in which we drown in plastic, but you know it. We could pretend we recycle the cycles of life, advocate like cycles. Pollution is a knife. Write moving haikus. Darling, Earth is our wife. But you know it. So why even try? Why not look up to the sky? After all, are we not stars? Our celestial bodies forged from star dust, imbued with innate wanderlust, a need to explore, traverse every corner of the universe. So get along with us. Blast off from these earthly huts with the likes of Elon Musk, dropped in Gucci masks, noses blocked to the stench of this dying earth. See, let the rest quench. Let them gnash their teeth in wrath. Because they all knew, we all knew that space is the place. See, we are the problem here. Because we keep throwing blames on others, throwing blames on the system that we elect, the system that we select, the system is a people of our own choice. The system is you. The system is me. See, all we did in the past that has led us to this point is bad. Environment is bad. From the lands to the air and waters. All choked up in fumes and plastic waste. Results? Global warming. And soon, the rich will escape to space. Crisis. The rest will be left to face. So, Justice for environment is justice for all. Practice conservation to avoid destruction, for the future is in the making of our present daily deeds. Justice for environment is? Justice for environment? Practice conservation to avoid, for the future is in the making of our present daily deeds.
Justice for environment is justice for environment is justice for let me say, imagine using plastic to solve your problems. Imagine that, using plastic to solve your problem. Imagine that, using plastic to solve your problems. Plastic can take 450 years to decompose, and 50% of the plastic produced and not deposit into the container for recycle. But at least less than 10% of the plastic used around the world has been recycled. But did you know 12 million tons of the plastics are poured into the ocean every year? Did you know it means the difference between life and death of marine animals? And if in the growth of a single use of a plastic product continues, did you know the current rate, it will raise from 5 to 10%, and this will be a global emission by 2050. But as individuals, we have the power to make the difference by supporting structures, regulation, getting involved with any organization dedicated to solving plastic pollutions. Plastic pollutions lead to serious environmental, economic, social consequences for our society. So guys, stop thinking, act! Stop thinking and act! Plastic solution is the real threat to our environment. Plastic pollution is the real threat to our environment. Start by reducing plastic products. No dumping ni sheria kwa wana mazingira. So kichocho pindupindu
mazingira tupate amani.
Okay. Now I'm looking for a place to place this so that I can continue with the performance. Because I'm seeing all of you are soaked into it. Yeah? How was it? My audience, msiniangushe. How was it? Yeah? Relevance? Informative. Good words. Informative. Ingine? Another word? Kwa nyuma, watu wa nyuma. Tutoe ile kasumba ya nyuma. Kwa sawa. Watu wa Nairobi mtatuua. Sawa. Haya, sawa. The last word? Yes. Amesema entertaining. Amesema akiongea kwa microphone atakuwa na perform. Sawa. The very good papers going around. Make sure they get to you. because that is part of the performance. I told you the little impact we'll make today will make a very huge difference to our community, and that's our power. So, my beautiful one and only. Sijamaliza. My beautiful one and only. The only and the only. The only green job I can create. Shufa, karibisha the next speaker.
No. I don't want to sitaki kumkaribisha the next speaker. Nataka turudie makofi. Naona mnasinzia. Ni hiyo chai ilikuwa nyingi ama mmeshiba? Mko poa? Mmeshiba? Bado kushiba? Sawa, nawaletea lunch. Niwaletea sahi ama baadaye? Sahi, pigeni makofi ya lunch. Pigeni makofi ya lunch. Pigeni makofi ya lunch. Asanteni sana. Mko vizuri. Mko vizuri. Sasa pigeni makofi ya the poets. Wenye wametoka hapa. Asanteni sana. Wao ndio watawanunulia lunch. Asanteni sana. You're doing a very great job. Karibuni sana. After the break, I hope you've networked. You've got to know each other. Mmesalimiana. Mmekunywa chai hata kama mnasema mjashiba. Mimi binafsi, on my behalf and on behalf of Swahili Pot Hub, nawaletea lunch. But before ifike, so unajua kuna jam Mombasa. Before ifike, I'd love to, we have a very, very short presentation that will take probably less than 30 minutes. I'd love to invite Daisy Chisang, who is the Senior Associate of GDI Africa, to give us a presentation of the mapping of Kenya's circular economy. And then she will invite Alice. Sawa, pigeni makofi ya Daisy. Pigeni makofi ya Daisy na ile saiki ya lunch. Yes, karibu sana Daisy.
Daisy, unataka hii ama hii? This one. Or you English? Shufa, tukirudi hapo English kindly. Kindly.
Hello everyone. Hello. Hello. The energy levels are so low. We need more green jobs. Thank you, Shufa, for the introduction. Thank you so much, Shufa. That's fine. Okay. For those who don't know, in another life, I'm a creative, so I understand all this. Thank you so much, Shufa and Tony, for the introduction. I'm representing GTI, but I'm also part of brothers and sisters here at Swahili Pot. So when you hear me, you know by extension, this is family. I'd like to take us through a really great presentation. When we speak about green jobs, when we speak about let's create more jobs, it's good for us to see where are we? What are we doing right? What can we improve? And who is doing what? As we proceed, I think Arafat, direct me the screen that works best. That one. Oh, perfect. So we can go to next. So before we look at the jobs that we need to create and the more jobs that we envision, Kenya currently stands at producing that number of tons of waste daily. 65% of it is organic. So if you have left your plate half finished, please do consider that will be an organic waste. If you don't have cats or dogs to eat it, that is what we consider organic waste. So far, in a year, we are producing 8 million tons of waste. This is according to NEMA, and also our great partners that we've worked with, IKEA Foundation. As most of you know, they are really working on some of the initiatives even here in Mombasa. However, that number continues to grow. As you see, our population is at 84 million. So when we say we need more jobs, we mean we really do need more green jobs. Also looking at how we disperse our waste, something to note very clearly is Plastic is at 12.5%. That is 3 years ago. But according to the projections, we are expected to see it going to up 14%. So it means if we do not upcycle more, recycle more, those numbers will continue to grow. I don't want to spend so much time here. Next. Good. So before we even get to plastic, a lot of us speak about waste, but waste is looked at very differently when it comes to green jobs. These 4 types of waste are really predominant in Kenya and even here in Mombasa. But one thing I'd like you to see is that all the 4 forms of waste, majority of them are imported. That is a discussion I really love to hear, especially on the roundtables. We are importing almost 71% of plastic wraps are imported. Textile, I know I'm wearing a mtumba here. It's also imported. We are also seeing electronic waste being imported. Some of us, we know we have bought a phone, we don't know how to dispose it. We give it to our younger siblings until it does not work. So when you look at these forms of waste, majority of it is being imported. That is also a discussion that we really need to have in terms of, as we create more jobs, how can we also manage importation of waste itself? Next. Yes. So as we sat down with stakeholders, like I mentioned, IKEA Foundation and over 60 stakeholders, we realized that the informal sector employs millions of people. When we speak about green jobs, this is what we are saying. There is a lot of jobs being employed in the informal sector, and the formal sector employs tens of thousands. But for some reason, the formal sector receives more funding. What does that tell us? It tells us there is a lot of interest in the space, in either financing, providing capacity building, providing training, but is it going to where it should be? So as you can see, the informal sector, by its structure itself, most of us know informal sector, the Juakali sector, waste pickers are in the informal sector. When you move to the formal sector, represented majority by KEPSA, this is where someone who said manufacturing, perhaps they were referring to this. So when you look at manufacturers, they receive a lot of funding. But I don't want to explore more on funding. I will introduce someone to tell you in depth about finance. Next. Yes. So today, I know we have innovators, and I really look forward to hear about your innovations in the space. What we have found is that the innovative models within circularity are really doing so well. But there has been a challenge with scaling. Scaling continues to be a challenge. Whichever model you want to take, either through aggregation points, like some of you are doing, you're coming together and putting places where I can dump my plastic. That is one of the models. The next one is community-based centers, where you know if I go to Mwakirunge, there's a center there, there's a place I can deposit my plastic. That's also another model. And the other one is highly influenced by manufacturers. Anyone who is here who has a business, I know you do either import or you have someone who supplies you with wrappers, you have someone who supplies you with, if you have a gift bag, there are usually those plastics that you use to wrap it very well. So there are such models. But the producer incentive model is highly influenced by the government itself. As we move along, we get to see how best can we manage these gaps and how do we scale. So as you're presenting today, I really look forward to hearing more about your presentation on scaling. Next. Yes. So let's look at jobs. Let's speak about the jobs. There are existing jobs within the value chain of waste. We are seeing a lot of caretakers. When it comes to professional, anyone who works within the space, we are seeing cleaners, waste pickers. A lot of us have taken part in cleanups in the ocean. This is part of it. But in future, as we speak about jobs, it's also great for us to see what are the future jobs within the sector. These are the emerging jobs that we see and also have been able to identify. If you're in the space of recycling, most of you have required a 3D printer technician to come and assist. You have required someone who knows how to do marketing and sales. For anyone who's recycling any form of plastic, creating very beautiful pieces, you have worked with someone who knows how to market such products. If you are also working with anyone who collects, especially if you have center points like some of you stakeholders have, you've worked with logistics and distribution. So those are the opportunities we see. However, we are seeing a skills mismatch and low earnings that have made it not very, I would say, interesting for young people. Most of us do not consider some of these jobs as jobs full-time. You do it part-time, either because it does not earn you so much, or you don't feel like this is something you can do long-term. We're here to tell you, if you are looking to be in the sector, these are the jobs for the future. As we move next, we are saying Kenya in itself. Thank you. As we move along, we're saying Kenya in itself currently operates at a linear. We do not plan about recycling even beforehand. We wait until this is something that is not useful, then we want to recycle. That's what we mean by linear. So we really have an opportunity to move from being a very linear economy to a very circular economy. And how exactly do we do that? Through our engagements and also working with our stakeholders, we've been able to develop an hypothesis of how that would make sense. How do we move from thinking about recycling and reusing and managing that waste even before we actually produce, rather than waiting until this plastic does no longer make sense to me or I cannot use it, then now I want to recycle. We are looking at first the size of the market. How can we actually possibly measure correctly? Some of the waste that we say we produce a lot of plastic, our good friends there presented about how the percentage of plastic that we do recycle. How do we actually measure that correctly? And possibly, how do we even influence the national level and even the county government in itself in terms of managing the size of waste itself? Something that also comes in very handy. How do we manage our import and export when it comes to waste? This continues to be a sore thumb within the circularity because we are importing more, but we are not actually recycling or reusing most of it. As you look at most of the financing models, I don't want to spend, like I mentioned, I will have someone explain in depth really in terms of how do we finance in the sector. There's a lot of interest in the sector. Some of you have seen a lot of support when it comes to, if you're a CBO, you have received training to some extent. If you are an innovator, like Mombasa Plastic Prize are here, they've supported you, but then how do we continuously support you to scale? Those are some of the things that we will be discussing as we look at grant financing and blended financing. Something very key is collaboration. I think at the root of it all is collaboration. How do we all collaborate together as a stakeholder, as a manufacturer, as someone who is a user? I am a user. How do I collaborate together with the stakeholders, with the government, and the work of the innovators? And the other area that we also see an improvement is in terms of innovation and data. More and more innovation in the space. I know today we have innovators who will be presenting. We want more and more new ideas into the space to be investable. How can we do this better? How can we manage it? And how can we fill the gaps? The other aspect that we really look at is the sector itself needs a lot more data and traceability. How can I trace the waste that comes from my house and make sure it has been disposed correctly? That's how you actually know you're either moving through a circular economy or a linear economy. If you cannot account for it outside your door, then there has to be more data in how I can trace that. So those are some of the areas that we looked at in terms of these are really opportunities and very unique challenges within the sector. And with that, I would like to close my presentation. I said I'll be short, and Shufa is giving me the eye. So I would love us to now move to their finance. How do we finance this sector? How do we finance this for the youth? And what does that mean in terms of more jobs? Does it mean if we finance it more, there'll be more jobs? I don't know. So for this next session, I'd like to invite Alice Gugilev, to take us through the finance piece. Any questions for me before we speak money? The one to speak about money. Okay. Alice, come.
Thanks, Daisy. That was fantastic, right? Thank you. That's about, gosh, 3 months of research. I think dozens and dozens of interviews. Who's seen the way that she's broken out waste in terms of organic, plastic, textiles, the metals? Who's seen that before? Just a couple of people, right? But sometimes, and this is actually a pet peeve of mine, you just kind of group everything together. It's all one thing. But when you start to take it apart, how do you do a lot more recycling? How do you do a lot more circularity? It really depends on the kind of waste. Who remembers from her presentation, what's the largest amount of waste in Kenya? What category? Organic, right? So it's kind of interesting. And in fact, organic waste releases a lot of methane also that causes global warming. So we really need to solve each type of plastic, organic, textile, metal waste very, very differently. So that's, if there's one thing you really remember from this presentation, how do we really look at these kinds of wastes differently? The other is that how do we think about circularity, closed market systems? How much is coming from the outside and how much is getting reused in our system here? I have this crazy ambition, I don't know, as always, but is there something in Mombasa that we can do, that we think of Mombasa County, where we track how much plastic waste is being created or imported, and what % we can actually reuse and reduce the importation. So this would be a very, very interesting kind of target for Mombasa County. So I'm going to talk about, I don't know where my presentation is. It up? I don't see it yet. But as they're getting my presentation up, as you heard, I'm going to talk about financing. But before I do want to say thank you to Arafat, our friend Mu. I don't know where he is. Where's Arafat? Oh, there he is. I just want to say thank you to him, because this guy has been toiling behind the scenes for the last few years, working for the entrepreneurs in our community. Sometimes it works and people show up, but he keeps going and going, and this is an incredible culmination of a lot of that vision. So I just want to take a moment to clap for Arafat and say thank you. See, he's still busy. He's not even acknowledging it. So as they're still doing the presentation, as we were talking about, how do we finance a lot of this? And I'm going to get into some financing terms, but I want to pause before we get into the money part of it. A lot of times it's money for something. Money for what? And all of us in our lives want more money, right? For what? To buy a better phone, better clothes, a house, get married, right? It's not that we want money itself. We want money for something. And so when you think about money in this space, in plastics, circular economy, money for what? And money can be used in many different ways. One of the ways that it could be used for is changing incentives of how you act and how you behave. Some of it comes from regulations, right? So if we as consumers are told we have to use a recyclable bottle, right? And if we don't, there'll be consequences of some kind. Or we have to recycle any plastic bottle that we use. That's our behavior. We have to change our behaviors. Why does anybody change their behaviors? Some people are incentivized, we want the earth, you know, the rights of the earth are the rights of all. Some people, it's because the government says there's regulations, you can't do that. Others, you get paid for recycling. Which one works best? Any ideas? A lot of times it's actually getting paid. Because if there's regulations, you know what people do? They find ways around it, right? There's a few of us that care. Hands up for those people. Maybe most of you in the room. But the majority of society, they change their behavior when there's incentives that are financial. So that's one way of having money change incentives. Another thing is to get money to change outcomes, especially outcomes at scale. An outcome is people get a job and more income. An outcome is we have less plastic waste in our communities. So we want to pay for outcomes. A third is tracking and measurement and accountability. Is what we said going to happen happening? And how are we tracking that? So we're paying for that tracking. I realized as I was developing these thoughts, it translates into incentives, outcomes at scale, and tracking. IoT in the plastic space. So think about this. Money for incentives and changing that. Money for creating outcomes at scale. And how to use financial measurement for tracking and incentivizing the tracking component and tracking outcomes at scale. So think about IoT in this kind of plastics and circularity space. So I'm going to briefly talk about two reports that we've done, one with my colleague Daisy, where we talked about financing as part of that research, and the second, financing around youth employment. So I'm going to go into a few technical areas, but it's all about money, so usually people pay attention. So first one is this FinYouth report. So this is part of the Global Opportunity Youth Network, and that's the first slide, if you can go to that. And you see where Mombasa is? So those that don't know, Global Opportunity Youth Network is a network of many different communities, just like this one, all around the world. So you're part of this amazing global network. And I've been visiting all these communities, and there's these same kinds of meetings. And what I love about green jobs and the green economy is that most of the time, it's not driven by the government or donors or other influences. It's driven by the young people locally that care about what's happening in their own communities. And so you can feel like you're part of all of these different communities all around the world, which is really exciting and wonderful. So there's Mombasa as part of Global Opportunity Youth Network. Next slide. If you can. Is that switching? There you go. So we published a report a couple of months ago because people kept asking us, youth unemployment is such a big problem, but what do we need to solve it? And people keep thinking grants. We just need more grants from foundations and we'll solve it. There's just not enough grants in the world to solve it. And if there's another thing that I would like to leave you with is that money comes in all different ways, all different shapes and sizes. There's money from foundations, yes, but there's money from government. There's money from banks. There's money from different kinds of investors. There's also money for different kinds of things to change incentives, outcomes, and tracking. And so we wrote a report that we published, and we can send it around to whoever's interested in that, where we looked all around the world, different ways that people finance jobs and entrepreneurship for young people all around the world. Next. And so what we've done, and this is a bit of a busy slide, I'm gonna explain it. On the left is what people always talk about, which is the skills gap. You don't have the skills to do a particular kind of job. And this is true in green jobs right now. All around the world, people are saying, we wanna invest in green jobs, but people don't have the skills. So how do we train our young people to get those skills? The second is that there's just not enough jobs out there. So what we're seeing in Kenya, for example, is there's a lot more electrification. But to make that happen at scale, we need investment. We need more money to create more jobs that are related to that. So that's a jobs gap. There's just not enough jobs out there today. The third is, how do you find those jobs? The fourth is that we want to really think about resilience for young people. So this is what we looked at in the report and mapped out many different solutions. Next. And so there were examples, including, there were some from Kenya, I don't know why that's not on the map here, but there are very interesting solutions from all around the world that we took a look at. Next. And for each of those problem areas, we mapped out very interesting financing approaches. So again, not just grants, but how do you drive investment and different kinds of investment into creation of youth jobs, both skilling as well as bringing in more jobs into the market. Next. So that's the Fin Youth Report. And then with DAISY, we also looked at financing for circularity. And so at the moment, what we're seeing is that there's just not enough funding for waste management initiatives. But there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of investors that want to come into this space. Next. Daisy presented this one, so we'll move on. Next. This is a small slide. You don't need to, small print. You don't have to read all this. But for people that don't know, there's actually a lot of money expected to come into Kenya for green jobs from all different sources. International financing institutions are bringing in money, private sector, there's going to be new incubators and accelerators. There's government programs, county and national, that are interested in this, foundations. So you're looking at actually a bit of a wave of interest in green jobs. So the question is, how do you access some of that, right? And this is what we've been trying to work on and share with everybody. Next. So as we talked about with the IoT discussion before, we want to move from inputs to outcomes, where we really think about how many jobs are created and how much waste is taken out of the system and being recycled. Second, how do we scale the financing? From startups to training to really getting those kinds of jobs and the money for you to be able to access that. Third, how do we move money efficiently in the system? Very often in Kenya, there's a government program at the national level, but it gets stuck. So it doesn't move to the county level or to all of you here. And the fourth is those incentive structures. What if all of us do our part for recycling? Is that enough? Well, at the consumer level, That's one thing. But where's sometimes the biggest source of waste that's not consumers? Anybody? Yes. The manufacturers, the companies, the corporates, huge amounts. So how do we change incentives for them where they use different kinds of packaging materials? Is it regulations? Is it investments? How do we change that structure? So these are some of the challenges that we took a look at. And I'm going to share just a couple of interesting products. And this is going to probably take, the next several months as I'm building up this, these ideas with this group here. So come to me after if there's anything that you didn't understand, and you can read the report. But the idea is, how do we think about grants and financing in different ways? So the first one I'm going to talk about, next slide. Oh, sorry, one more thing. We want to map out different ways of thinking about financing. So one thing we can think about is, how do we use financing and money to get individual workers into circularity jobs? As Daisy was saying, how do we think about money for nonprofits and livelihoods? How do we think about increasing the financing for SMEs? And something that might be new to some of you. Do you know that you can get capital and financing if you reach a certain outcome? I don't know if people have seen this before, but if you have a training program and you place people into jobs, you can get paid just for that. Or if you take waste out of the ecosystem and upcycle it, recycle it, you can get paid just for that. So this is what's called financing for outcomes. And there's investors and foundations that are giving money for that. And then the last one I'll mention is investment in terms of infrastructure. We talked about manufacturing before, but I don't know if you've seen this. There's sustainable building materials, sustainable road materials. Even when new people come to invest in Mombasa, you always have to ask, how is this aligned with green jobs, with sustainability, to make sure that all of that investment really drives jobs in this space? So these are some of the things that we've been talking about, and how does that translate into specific products? And I'll give you a couple of examples. Now we'll go to the first one. So the first one is, let's say I, as a young person, want to get into a green economy job, or want to get training in that. We can finance that training. So, for example, you can get money from a bank or a financial institution to pay for your training, even on the job training, to get into green jobs. And there's money for these kinds of things. And we're hoping to be launching that in Mombasa over the coming even 6 months. How do we retrain the workforce to have the skills to work in green related jobs? So this is one option. And this is not a grant. This will be coming from banks. What we'll be using the grant money for is to reduce the interest rate of borrowing, so that you can borrow at rates that really make sense. And what's really great is that the salaries in green jobs are higher than other jobs. So this is a very interesting product that we're going to be piloting. Next one. This is around livelihoods. So the first one is, you're starting a micro enterprise or a very, very small business. You start out with a grant. So how do we support micro entrepreneurs to just get started? And then if they're doing well, how do you start giving them larger and larger products that become loans? And then you grow into an SME, and then you support small and medium enterprises with more and more loans. There's a lot of funds now with green jobs as their focus, looking for investment opportunities. This is a huge, huge space right now. And they want more ideas, more innovation, more investment. Next. This is the outcomes fund that I was talking to you about, where people pay for certain outcomes to be reached. So funders will come and will say, we'll give you money if you create a green job. If you create 100 green jobs, 1,000 green jobs, you get more and more money for that outcome. Or you reduce waste in the system. We take out this much tonnage of organic waste, plastic waste, textile waste, you get paid for that. So you start to think about the impact, the outcome that you want to have, and that's where financing influences it. I think I have one more, maybe. We'll skip this one for now, and I'll go to the last one, which is how do we now start to work with investors and even the World Bank, financial institutions that say, oh, I want to invest in Mombasa. I want to set up a new building. I want to build a new road. How do we think about that being sustainable? How do we think about investments by corporations doing something completely different on their packaging? And so this is a huge trend again that's going to create significant jobs. And this is all to be financed. Financing for electrification, electric vehicles, et cetera. So these are a few of the products that I wanted to share with all of you to really open kind of the discussion, that it's not just grants, that there's so many things that you can use money for, and not just growing a small business, but actually changing incentives, changing outcomes, and tracking the impact that you want to have. I'll end it there, and please come find me if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Nisimame hapa. I think we need to give that another round of applause. A good one. Mpaka niseme tuache. Tuendelee. Bado. Watu wa mbele wapigi makofi. So mpaka waanze. So sijasema tuache. Something good lazima twende. So thank you very much to Daisy.
Umesema tuache?
Oh, sijasema. Tuendelee, tuanze tena.
Usikuwe hivyo.
Tuache.
She appreciates. Thank you so much, Miss Alice.
And Mr. Odipo. Asante sana. So the next session, najua bado hamjechoka, si ndio? Ile chai bado imejaa, si ndio?
Yep.
Innovators pia are setting up. So when we break for lunch, we will go to that space. We see what our amazing innovators have for us. Get to learn about their products. There is something Alice has said about some of the products, about blocks and everybody. We have Kapapo Solutions in the building. And when you go to their stand, you will see the bricks they make and also the poles that they can use for fencing and all that. So Kapapo Solutions are here. So Alice, you don't even have to give an example so far. They're already here and they have a solution. They've carried some of the blocks there. So I can see the beautiful faces of Kapapo around. So make sure you go and see what these innovators have. Otherwise, we want to go straight into our short panel. After that, mimi sikuwa ni wa promise lunch, lakini najua Shufaa aliwa promise. Sasa sitaingilia maneno ya Shufaa. Nitasema nitawa hand over kwa Shufaa kama ana lunch yenu yenye mimi sijaona.
Mimi niko nayo by the way.
Trust
me. You guys trust me, right? Nipatieni makofi ya lunch. Oh, amtaki lunch. Wow, let me make that
mpaka
call.
Mpaka niseme.
No, it's okay. Amtaki lunch. Amtaki? Ai, maskini. Sijawatishia, itakuja, okay?
So kindly we bring those chairs. Ndio nikiona hizi viti inanikumbusha kitu kimoja. Mahali ambapo tuko ni shamba la National Museums of Kenya. Na nimemwona mtu mmoja amekuwa hapa, Madam Fatma. We really appreciate you. And it's always good to have you around us. Kindly clap for her. There she is. Sijui kama utawaambia hi. Aha,
Thank
tunamshukuru
you so
sana.
much, Madam Fatma Tahir.
Sitaki kutumia ile jina ambao watu wanatumia ati ni sijui nini. Sitatumia ile jina. Si ndio? Lakini tutaendelea. This is hizi viti. Shufa, jaribu. Aha. Kuna watu ambao we want to invite them to sit here. Nataka kujua watakuwa wana feel vipi. Masi nimeona umesmile. Sijui kama una keti hapa. Aha, haya. So Shufa,
Yes.
nataka unialikie hawa watu. Mimi nitakuwa tu na conduct kama choir, watu wakipiga makofi, wakikuja. Wewe unataja, mimi na choir. So tafadhali my audience mnaniangalia mimi, si Shufa. Shufa nataja, mimi na tunawacha.
Hauna makofi special?
Special, relax, inakam.
Okay.
Inakam, inakuwa. Sawa, Shufa,
Yes.
uko ready?
Yes.
Tukikuita unakuja. Moderator tutamuita mwisho. Wengine. Moderator achana naye.
Okay.
Twende kazi.
I want to introduce the panelists who will be here in the panel discussion about generation of green jobs at a scale through employment and entrepreneurship in the plastic waste management value chain. So the first panelist I want to call upon is, again, Miss Alice Guglev, the Managing Director of GDI US and the CEO of GDI Africa. A very big round of applause to Alice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For those who had questions for her in her previous presentation, you can note it down, then you will ask her here, right? You ready for questions? Karibu sana. The panelist number 2.
Shufa.
Yes.
Tunaomba. Wewe, kila mnaniangalia mimi mnafanya kitu mimi nafanya na mnamsikiza yeye. Sawa? Twende.
I wish hata ningejiita hata mimi.
Kuwa na pesa.
The panelist number 2, Miss Diana Nyekio, MPP Incubator Entrepreneur, co-founder. Where is Miss Diana? Yes. Thank you so much, Miss Diana. Karibu tena. Tuko ready? Kwa number 3. Panelist number 3, Miss Lily Kabaka, Projects Assistant, Circular Economy Initiative. Karibu sana.
Check. 1, 2.
These ladies are very beautiful. These ladies are very beautiful. Umeona? Wapatieni makofi tena. Na mmeambiwa msiniangalie, makofi yako huko. The panelist number 5, Miss Sarah Mpapulu. She was here in the morning. Yes. The senior designer, Proportion Global. Karibu sana, Miss Sarah. Karibu sana. Very beautiful lady. And the final panelist is a gentleman. You were worried. Poleni sana. This ratio is very perfect.
Sasa hapo ndio uliniuliza hakuna special clubs. Nilikuwa nangojea huyo.
Okay.
Sasa mnaniangalia instructions sawa. Zile za rais. Unajua zile za rais? Shwa zile za Moi. Si wenye tulikuwa hizo enzi. Sasa twende kazi Shufa.
Uko tayari? Mko tayari? For the final panelist who is going to grace the stage, Mr. Tendai Lewa Katana. Thank you. Hey. Okay.
Instructions.
Mwangalieni yeye, sio mimi.
Alafu niletee ule mtu wangu sasa.
Wanakuangalia. Sawa. They will do more introduction about themselves. And finally, I'm going to call upon the moderator. Mr. Moderator, wherever you are. Are you ready?
Zile za rais.
Mr. Moderator, Arafat Mu. Amesema anaitwa Mu peke yake. Mu.
Alafu Shufa.
Yes.
Yake woo, si Mu. Woo. Sasa turudie hapo, si ndio? Lazima tuchangamke. Mko tayari? In 1 2 3 twende.
Woo.
Watu wa nyuma wanatu let down. Lazima turudie. Mko tayari tena? Zikuwe juu. Unajua mimi ni backbencher kama nyinyi. Mko ready? Shufoko ready?
Yep.
Na watu wako hapo kwa panelists pia mpige makofi. Mko tayari? 1 2 twende. Thank you very much.
Asanteni sana. And this, concentrate on this. It's going to be very engaging and entertaining as well. Karibuni sana.
Sawa Mo. Tunajaribu, watu wanataka kula. Sawa sawa.
Odipo and Shufa, are we good to go? All right, perfect. Good afternoon. Thank you for making time to join us for the inaugural Green Job Summit. With us here is an amazing panel of individuals representing awesome organizations, right? And yeah, thank you for joining us. My name is Arafat Mu. Yeah, work here at Swahilipot Hub. And sure, one way I can get to explain the experience, it's like getting onto a plane, then jump off the plane while it's mid-air, right, with a parachute. But like, by the time you jump off the plane, you start assembling the parachute, right? You start assembling the parachute, hoping that by the time you land, your parachute is safe and you'll be able to land safely, right? So yeah, as we go on with this event, right, that is actually how things are happening, right? And actually, that is also how this panel is going to run. So they literally have no idea what the questions are, right? And many times when it comes to panels, usually questions are shared beforehand. So for this panel, like questions weren't shared beforehand. So they'll be sharing out of their experience, right? Anyway, we're going to start from, let's start from the other side, right? Since he's the only gent on the panel, right? Yeah, so Tendai, if you could please tell us more about yourself, your background, but also the organization that you're representing, which is Jacob's Ladder Africa. Then we shall be coming down this way. Over to you.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. Hamjambo. Kwa majina naitwa Tendai Lewa Mtana. Mimi ndiye mojawapo wa wakurugenzi wa shirika linaloitwa Jacob's Ladder Africa. Ni shirika lisilo la profit. Ofisi zetu ziko Nairobi, na mimi ndiye moja wao wanaoshirikisha na kushirikia katika uchumi wa samawati. Lakini leo tumekuja hapa kuzungumzia swala la green jobs. Wengi wenu mnanikumbuka nilipokuwa waziri katika kaunti ya Mombasa. Nilishikilia wadhifa tofauti, na moja wao ilikuwa ni Department ya Environment between the year of 2015 and 2017. Asanteni.
All right, thanks a lot. So we shall be coming back. Sorry, oops. Sorry about that. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so we shall be coming back to them, right? Would like to hand it over to Diana.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Nyakio, MPP Innovator, representing Capable Solutions. At Capable Solutions, we deal with cabros, panels, and poles. So that's where basically we got our name from, so Capable. But Capable also stands for capability and strength. And our company, we also customize these poles into eco furniture and road signages to promote sustainable living. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Lily from WWF Kenya.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Lily Kabaka. I work for WWF
Excuse
Kenya.
Lily, if you could please put the microphone close, sir.
Yes, sir. So I work for WWF Kenya. I am a project assistant. I support the Circular Economy Initiative. So WWF Kenya is a conservation organization in Kenya. We've been working in Kenya for over 60 years, and in the coastal province or the coastal region for almost 20 years. And
Our newest program is the Circular Economy Initiative program that focuses on handling plastic waste to conserve the marine and ecosystem. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Lily? Alice? Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Alice Gugilev. Most of you know that I'm with Global Development Incubator, but many of you also don't know that I'm a volunteer for a nonprofit that my son started and was the chief design person for, which is called Plastiki Rafiki. So since I'm a volunteer for my son's company, I'll talk about that, which Plastiki Rafiki tries to do with what Daisy was talking about, which is to distribute recycling and upcycling of plastic. A lot of times you take plastic in the community and you have to transport it a long distance and you get almost no money for it because it's just a bottle. And then another company processes it and upcycles it and then makes the money from that. What Plastiki Rafiki tries to do is they put very simple technology, like just shredding machines and molding and melting machines into the community. For example, we just started one in Bangladesh, here in Mombasa, last year. And so that allows the local community to make more money by having what's called, you guys all know this, value-added materials. As soon as you add some value to that material, you get more money. And so this Plastiki Rafiki has set up 14 workshops across Kenya, and that's one way to really change the model. So I'm representing them today.
All right. Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you very much, Alice. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Arafat. As I'd mentioned earlier, for those who had my first introduction, my name is Sarah Mpapulu. I am Kenyan, for those who are thinking I'm not Kenyan. Yeah, that's the first question I always get asked. But I'm here today representing Proportion Global, which, as I had introduced earlier, is a design organization that's a network of global design community that come together to problem solve, pretty much. But in this context, I must say Proportion Global is the partner providing design support within the Mombasa Plastic Consortium, which is several organizations coming together to make Mombasa Plastic Prize a support. Of course, working very closely with Swahili Port, Close the Gap, as well as Challenge Works. So yeah, that's my brief introduction. I believe we'll get to know more as we talk about the questions in the panel. Back to Arafat.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, as we go on with this panel, right, at any given point, if a thought comes up in your mind, you have a contribution you'd like to make or a question, we're going to ensure this panel is brief so that we give you ample time to ask those questions, right? Okay, so the topic of this panel is generating green jobs at scale, specifically in the plastic value chain of Mombasa, right? So there are two things here, a couple of things anyway. At scale, so that means it's not 10 jobs, 30 jobs, 100 jobs, but rather 5,000, 100,000 jobs, right? Let's talk of thousands, right? For the moment, let's talk of thousands. We're talking about plastic value chain, and also we're talking about Mombasa, right? I know we have people joining in from across the country, as well as the globe, right? So, but we're gonna limit our conversations to that. Okay, so 30th of March, this is the first question, right? It was the International Day of Zero Waste. And we celebrated it here. It was an amazing success. Majorly, there were youth, right? And actually part of the feedback that we got from that activity was that, yeah, we're majorly youth. I think 99% were youth. I think we almost had only 3 stakeholder organizations. So this time around, we flipped the chart, like we flipped the coin, right? Mostly having stakeholders, literally like organizations, but also youths are there, of course, right? And actually an interesting question, because we had a panel, an interesting question that came from the panel There's a gentleman, his name is Savala. Yeah, Savala asked a question, if I'm not mistaken, right? Are you involved in plastic waste because of money or because of fashion, right? So now maybe to rephrase the question, right? Are you, when it comes to plastic waste, are you a capitalist or philanthropist, right? Would you be involved in tackling plastic waste because it pays money, there's money involved, or because you're sort of like just interested and passionate about it, right? So views can be individual. I know it's kind of like a very controversial question. And that is the first general question, right? I hope Savala have rephrased the question very well, right? Probably maybe Savala, you should come and actually, how did you phrase that question? I just want to ensure that, yeah, exactly, because it was a very interesting question. Savala, just come and pose that question, right? Yeah, let Savala pose that question to them. Because we also had a professor joining in from Nairobi, and we actually asked him that question. I'll give you what the professor said. Savala, how did you pose that question?
Are your activities, or rather ways of doing business, money-oriented, or would you still go on with what you're doing if money wasn't involved?
All right, thank you very much. So let's start from the other side, coming back here. Our Tendai, yeah, I know the beauty was that you already have experience. Literally everyone on this panel has deep experience in this particular topic, right? So let's see.
Thank you. So to answer your question, when we were in school, we were told the easiest way to fail an exam is not to answer the question. And so I will pick the middle ground, which is that it's neither profit, neither is it philanthropic. And I'll explain why. First, who we are as Jacob's Ladder are a thought leadership organization. And when I say thought leadership, what I mean by that is it's defined by the experience of the people that founded the organization, who are both practitioners in politics and government and private sector. And having realized that Kenya attaining independence, like most other African countries, the thought leadership that we have as, I wouldn't call us young Kenyans anymore, because we're a group between the ages of 30 to 50. We realize that we can actually do this thing we call global growth or global development ourselves as Kenyans. And in tackling the issue of the green economy, one of the first things that we realized is we are literally scratching the surface. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Wazungu wanasema there is the tip of the iceberg and there is the bottom of that iceberg, which we hardly will see tukiwa baharini. And the bottom of that iceberg looks like, and Savala I think touched on it here, is the world of production, global production. And global production is a big machine. It is a worldwide machine, and in the 21st century is largely driven by capitalism. And when we touch on the aspects of green jobs as we're talking about it here today, our emphasis would be on at two levels. One is to do a thorough assessment as young Kenyans of what does global production actually look like. I was impressed and touched by the youth artists who came and did a presentation here, and one of their props, and I don't know if you all paid attention, one of their props was an entire collection of Coca-Cola bottles. Now, I want us to stop and pause and think about the production of Coca-Cola. And I want us to think about who the producers of Coca-Cola are. And I want us to think about where the producers of Coca-Cola are. And I want us to think about the marketing that goes into the product of Coca-Cola as an example of global production. And on the other side, the fact that those bottles have made their way into, and Alice touched on this, the Kenyan market. And I believe it was her colleague who was talking about import through an importation framework of trade, which is the other side of the conversation that I'd like us to focus on here today, is the consumption side. So that ultimately, if we're really going to talk about green jobs, it will be okay for us to talk about the tip of the iceberg, which is on the waste side, but we've really got to ask ourselves, who's producing and what are we consuming and why are we consuming? That's when we'll really touch on green jobs. And I'm glad, I was hoping that one of the panel members here would be from government, but having served in government, one of the opportunities that government has, and even more importantly in a country like Mombasa, is we not only have the port, but we have what we are now calling special economic zones and industrial parks. Now, if we're really going to talk about green jobs, what we really should be focusing on, and this is where the thought leadership comes to, is who is actually going to set up those production spaces? Yeah? What resources are they going to be using? And are we really going to get to the point of green jobs, as one of the participants when the program began described as a green job, which is an environmentally sustainable job? So my answer to your question is, it's neither philanthropic, neither is it capitalist. What it's going to require for us as Kenyans and young Kenyans is that it's going to require for us to provide some level of leadership. That's what it's about. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So Tendai hako hapo katikati, right? Thanks, Diana.
So I think this question is most relevant to the ones already making big money in the company, in this industry. But for as a youth, also as an innovator, when Mombasa Plastics Prize initially started, they didn't mention anything about money. So we were all in it for passion, and we were all in it for the change. So that's why we started as Mombasa Plastics Prize finalists, and now we're in the incubator phase and finally having our businesses, and some of us are already making money and some of us are not. So not really in it for the money, so in it for the change and passion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Interesting. Lily?
For me, I think I'll take the approach that Honorable Tendai is taking, because there's no way that you're going to tell people to protect the environment if it is not pledged on their livelihoods. That is my personal view, and I believe that we can only create large environmental impact if our solutions are pegged on people's livelihoods. So I think that is also in line with our organization mission, whereby we are targeting to stop degradation, ensuring that people are living in harmony with nature. So people cannot be starving, and the solution is around people not utilizing the resource. But if we tell people to utilize the resource sustainably in a way that they can also get some livelihood out of the resource, it will create a larger impact, and also it will lead us to the green jobs that we want to create, because out of us coming up with solutions, as much as we are philanthropic about it, but if we attach some economic value to it, it will enable us to easily opportunities that can come with the solutions that we want to create as environmentalists.
All right, thank you. Alice?
So when I started my career, I would say I was purely on the capitalist side, like 100%. Philanthropy was something very far away over there that you do with some small percentage of your excess profit and after church. But